I bet you I can just go all in one on this recording, and it won't take that long.
That's fine.
Let me just do that and make it easier on you, and we'll find out. Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to another Overthrow Disc Golf video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are going to be setting you up with your off-season plan. So, grab a pen and paper, and let's get into it. So the goal here is to give us focus during our off season. We want to be really efficient in this and very intentional so that you can get better faster. Players with a plan just get better faster. A lot of people, they have all these projects that they want and they just attack them all randomly. And then at the end of the day, they really don't get better. So this is the off-season plan. You can find it on our Patreon, free to anyone, not just our Patreon members. Go over there, print it out, save it, get ready to write into it. Let's go through this. So the off-season plan, player, that's you, date, that's today. Now, the next section is player needs. Where am I losing strokes? Where can I gain strokes, right? You don't want to just look at your weaknesses. You want to make sure that you're working on things that you're good at over the off-season as well. So for example, my backhand's pretty good. I think if I got another 50 feet on my backhand, then I would gain a lot of strokes on the field. And everything else is pretty serviceable. My forehand's pretty good, but I think if I had an extra 50 feet on my backhand, I'd really stand out in the field and be a good weapon for me to develop over this off season. So technical. That would be anything that's form related. So that's my backhand. I would put that in this category. I would say backhand, distance, I want to gain it. Here's how I think I can gain it. I think I could gain it by cleaning up my hip rotation, my brace, all those wonderful things on my last stride there. So I would work through that. And then the other technical thing I would put down would be putting. I know I'm losing strokes on putting. So now I've got a strength and a weakness that I'm working on. So if I could clean up my putts inside the circle and give me a couple shots in the putts outside the circle, that would be great for the off season. Tactical, I'm pretty good tactically. I make good decision making. Tactical would be like shot selection. So my decision making is pretty good. Physical, obviously, I am the embodiment of a perfect disc golfer. So nothing's gonna go there for me. No, this would be actually my second area. I want to cut some weight. I want to get stronger. I want to strengthen my muscles that are going to support me throughout the entirety of the season and give me stability and longevity. So that's somewhere where I'm lacking and I need to work on in the off season. So I would put that there. Mental, my mental game's pretty good. It's not an area where I think I really need to work on all that much. Right, so that's that section. Now, the next section of the worksheet is scheduling your off season. You have to know how long is your off season. For me, it went from last week. If I were going to compete in tournaments coming in the off season, I would have from last week all the way up to probably March. So that would be 14 weeks for me. So with that being said, you've got to time out each of these things and how long they take. A form change takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get in. It's a big form change like your hips or your right arm or something like that. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to get it, battle ready. So know that you can't get to everything. So if you're looking and you've got all these changes that are going to take a lot of time, you can't get to them all. So pick your most impactful 2 or 3. Strengthen your strength, mitigate your weaknesses. If I were filling out the periodization, which is just the word that we use in coaching for periods of focus, right? My periodization would go rest, 2 weeks. That's pretty self-explanatory. The next one would go strength training. That's exclusively strength training. For the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna push my body to the limit. I'm gonna try to get really sore a lot. And then the next 2 weeks, I'd be doing strength training still, some strength and some cardio still, and then I'd start working into some no disc drills and start working some light technique. I can't do that in the first 2 weeks of strength training because I'm gonna be sore and my muscles are gonna be fatigued, so it's not gonna be the most beneficial time for me to get good form. And then after that 2 weeks, I'm gonna continue doing some light strength training, but my focus area is gonna be technique. It's going to be my putting and my footwork for the last 6 to 8 weeks of my season. Right? Now, that's the broad vision of your schedule. What you need to do with that once you have that is you need to go to this last page that's wide open here, and you need to put, weeks 1 through 2, daily schedule, rest. That's the easiest one. And you need rest. You have to rest from your previous off season. You give your muscles time to recover. Next, for me, would be weeks 3 and 4 would be strength training. So I would put in each of these boxes, 9 a.m., gym, strength training. I would break that down. 11, run, or maybe you do that run earlier in the morning. Everybody's schedules are different. Everybody's situations are different here. Block out what kind of the important things are, and if you want to get really specific and time out your daily schedule, do that. If you were an aspiring pro, wanting to be a touring pro, I would get as specific as you can. Then the next 2 weeks were strength and technique training for me. I'd put down strength training. I'd do less intensive work, and maybe I'd work on stabilization, my stabilizer muscles and things like that. You need to consult. I'm not giving you any kind of strength training advice. Go somewhere else for that. And then technique, I'd start laying out what drills am I doing? How am I gonna go through adding these new technical changes to my game? I'm gonna go through and make sure that there's no disc drill. I'm gonna make sure I go through these things slowly and start ramping my way up. And then I'm gonna go hard in the paint the last little bit. I'm gonna maintain some workout things for the last 6 to 8 weeks. I'm gonna continue hitting the diet. I would continue hitting the cardio, but it's not gonna be the full bore. I'm trying to push my body to the limit every day like I did in the first 2 weeks. And then, but I am going to go hard in the paint for the technique and for the putting, right? Now, a further breakdown of that is in the beginning of the 8-week period that I'd be working on form, I would work just on form. There would be no accuracy work. There would be nothing like that. It would just be technical form work. Do I get into the right positions? Does it look right? Does it feel right? All these things. So I would go through all of those, and then the last month of those, 8 weeks, I'd start getting that and building that into the game of now can I implement that form with gap work? Can I implement that form on the course? Can I implement it under pressure? And we're gonna have a video specifically on improving your form work. It's gonna come out after this sometime, but that will be more specific. So that's how I would go through this worksheet. That's how, if I were going to be a touring pro, I would attack my off season, very intentional, try to make the maximum amount of improvements that I could and optimize that time. And if you do that and you trust the process, you'll come out better. All right, so that's it. I hope for those of you who are really taking their off season seriously.
They're off serious seasonally.
Yeah. I hope for those of you that are taking your off seasons seriously that this is a help to you. This comes from my coaching background in tennis and studying how those guys do it, and they have a much tighter off-season schedule. We're very lucky in disc golf that we have such a long off-season. Those guys have 6 or 8 weeks, depending on if they're in the NITO ATP finals or not. But anyways, get after it, do the work, and if you don't know what you should be doing, consider joining our Patreon, and you can have a private lesson session, and we can go through this worksheet if you want, or we can do your form review through our Patreon, and you can know what kind of your big form issues are if you don't already know what those are. So we're here to help, but if you're self-coaching, then you can just snag this worksheet and use it too. And if you're a coach and you have students, feel feel free to snag this and use this with your students. For real, peace.